Testing, testing. Good morning, Twitch. How are we doing? I'm Matt Groves. I'm here again with another live stream for you. Still working on the Conduit project. And if you are joining today because of the my appearance on the .NET Live show yesterday, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's going to be not quite as fast-paced as that show. Because got a lot to cover, a lot to work on, a lot to code live. But yeah, if you hadn't seen that, it was on the .NET Live show yesterday, talking about this very, well, not, my project, yes, but the Conduit project in general, the real world project, and that was a lot of fun. So super glad to check that out. If you want to go check that show out, it's called On .NET Live, and you can see all the other episodes that have been on here. Whoa, doesn't look so good with a light background. I need to work on that. But yes, there I am, real world front ends and back ends with Conduit. And the next one coming up is about Blazor and Spark.net. It's interesting. So, great show. Check out. It's really fun, just kind of conversational, showing some demos, showing some code. I don't even need to work on... Well, it doesn't look so bad. Well, that's not really a white background now, is it? Let's see. Where was that page? Let's bring it up here again. Yeah, I need to work on how I look there. My goodness. Okay, Logitech. I really need to figure out this whole lighting thing, probably one of these days, but all right, let's try going this direction. Well, that's better. Keep going, keep going, keep going. How's it look with the dark? See, that's where the green starts showing up. So if I go back the other direction, okay, that's pretty good. We'll leave it there. So the lighting in this is my office. It's in a basement, but it's kind of, my house is kind of on a little bit of a slope. So the basement, there's a huge window in the right straight across from me that looks into the backyard. And then there's a window over there, looks into the driveway, but it's blacked out. But the big window is not blacked out. So depending on how the sun's feeling and the clouds are feeling, I might get a lot of light into that window. Even though I've got some blinds, they are, at least somewhat translucent. And I've got one ring light here in front of me, and I've got these two big track lights up here that don't really seem to help that much. So one of these days I'm going to sit down and figure out lighting. But from my point of view, I'm more about the coding itself and getting that work done. I'd rather spend time on that than fiddling around with lighting for a while. So, but one of these days I'll sit down and do it. Okay, what are we working on today? So, if you remember the last stream, I was struggling a little bit with some testing. However, I think the main issue with that is only for me locally. If I want to switch back and forth between a integration test bucket database and the regular database, I guess we call it staging or development database. So I still got work to do on that problem, but the actual tests running on GitHub are not affected. If I want to run the project just in the browser, I can switch the secrets to a certain database, and I can, if I want to run tests, which is what it's currently in the state now, I can switch it back. So it's a little bit of manual testing, kind of annoying, manual switching between testing, but kind of annoying, but it works. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to research this, keep researching this offline because it's not terribly interesting for this stream. But so what I'm working on, I think I worked on some tests, and I worked on the Git profile and the unfollow. Those endpoints are finished and documented, and they're committed. I think they're committed. We can double check that. I just want to make sure I got the branches right. Let's see. Real world. Here we go. Unfollow. Yep. So unfollow was committed. That was number 12, I think. We can look at this particular issue. Yep. it's all good. Wait, no, I don't see any code there. Did I not tag my commits with a number? Well, anyway, so I'm pretty sure it's done. We'll just go check here. Unfollow. Yeah. All handler. So I worked through all that stuff. So what I'm going to work on today is something that's kind of been hanging out there for a while, and it shouldn't be a major issue. I say that knock on wood to get this done. But if we remember back to the JWT, so go to the auth service, for instance. I've got these strings here, and I actually brought this up on the live stream yesterday because I happened to be showing them on the screen. And these are normally sensitive characters, right? Sensitive strings. You don't want to show these to anybody. These are secrets. That's okay because these are temporary. I didn't plan to use these. Right? These are just kind of fill-in ones. But there's one other place that these are, and that's in the program. So they're also here as well. So we've got them here, here, and here. So those need to go somewhere else. They should not be hard-coded, especially since this is open source, right? Because if people know these keys, well, looks like I can get rid of that. That's interesting. To array. Huh. Anyway, if someone knows this and knows this and this, then if they get a hold of a JWT token, they can basically make their own tokens, I think, is how that's going to work, which is not what I want. And certainly if they could probably, if they got a hold of someone else's token, they could do some damage as well. So we're going to have to change this to be, I'm going to put them in the secrets, the user secrets for now, and of course they will go into the GitHub secrets at that point. So the other thing is that they're in two places. So this has to be the exact same string as this one, otherwise stuff's going to break. So it's kind of redundant to have them two different places as well. I don't anticipate needing them any other places, but it's a good idea to at least refactor these out to use the same config. So, which is going to introduce some complexity in terms of our tests, because I'm going to need to inject configuration objects into auth service, which means I got to go and refactor my tests. But that's okay. It won't take that long, I don't think. Let's just get to it. So, first of all, I'm not going to show you the actual secrets because they are sensitive right now. I'm connecting to Capella. But here is kind of how they look. This is the app settings JSON, which I plan to get rid of actually. But this is where I would put my secrets. So I could put something like JWT secrets here. And what I need is three things. So I need the issuer, which is currently this thing right here. And I need audience, which is currently this thing right here. And finally, I need the security key, which is this mess right here. Okay, so I'm going to put those into secrets as well. I'm going to do that off screen because, again, there's other stuff in secrets that I don't want you to see. So let's go ahead and secrets. Okay, put that right there. And yes. Okay, I'm going to call that, okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, so that's in there, and I'm going to change these values because eventually I'm going to change these values because, again, these should not be public. These should not, no one should know what these are. No, this is, that's wrong. That was from some debugging I was doing. Okay, so then what I need to do is I'm going to create like a, I forget what kind of object you call it, but like a config object. And I can put this here in Conduit Web for now, but it's JWT config. Is that what I called it? JWT secrets. I'll call it JWT secrets. Why not? JWT secrets. I'm not sure where the best place is to put that in the application. Now maybe that goes into users as a, it's not really a data model or data related, but I could put it in users somewhere. I wouldn't call it a view model either, but we'll just put it in there for now. It makes more sense to be in there at least. Yeah. It's only used in auth service, which lives right here. So auth service and program. So maybe I'd put it inside of services. Next to auth service? Yeah, I think that's fine. That makes sense. Okay. Now the way that this works, if I remember how to do this, and I might need to fall back to ChatGPT, tell me how to do this, or GitHub Copilot, is something called the option pattern. I think that's what it's called. So since I know that, let's just ask GitHub Copilot, how do I use JWT secrets class to load configuration values from, let's just say, app settings.json, even though I'm not going to use app settings, but and use it for the, is it I option? Pattern. And use it for the pattern to inject configuration into constructors. Let's see what it says to that. I don't know if I phrased my question quite correctly, but let's see what we got here. So, okay, so yeah, I've already done steps 1 and 2. Well, I've done steps 1, which is create a class, added the properties to app settings JSON, or in my case, it's the secrets. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. So, services.configure. So over here, let's go to, where is it currently at? Authenticate step. So let's do that. Yeah, let's do that here. And it's not services, it's going to be this. And configuration. Oh, it's because it's going to be, is it this dot configuration? How do I get the configuration again? I know I've done it somewhere else. Let's see. Config manager. It's being passed in there. Is it being passed in here? It looks like not. Okay, well, it should be. I'm doing it in other places. Authentication. Yeah. Builder.configuration. Yes. Okay. So back to the authentication, and it's just going to be, call this config.getSection. Okay. There we go. And so it would be the way I want to use this in the auth service for sure. I could probably also use this here in this method, but it might be more trouble than it's worth. So I think what I can do instead is just say config JWT secrets, and it is, what is this one, issuer? Is that going to work? Oh, I think it's like this, right? Like that. So again, I've done it somewhere else. Yeah, like right here. It's the same thing there. So I can do that, and I can say config JWT secrets audience. And once more, come on, get it together here, Visual Studio. Config JWT secrets, and what do I call that? Security key. Okay. Do I have too many parentheses? Not enough parentheses? No, I think we're good. Alrighty, so there's that. So that's, again, I could probably make a call to the pattern here. Hey, it's Narnia experts. Hi, Matt. I discovered your channel from your appearance in yesterday's Visual Studio on .NET Live. Yes, I was just talking about that. So thank you very much for joining. You have a general GitHub question. All right, here we go. So this is, let's see how we do here. Thank you for the challenge. I have a, what happens if I use Git to push a repository, I think you mean repository, which contains an alias to a folder found elsewhere in the file system? Would the entire folder it is pointing to get copied and uploaded into the repository? Would it just upload a broken file system alias? Wow, so I am not a Git expert, but I would suspect the latter would happen. It's going to copy an alias, because an alias, I think, is just, again, I'm not sure what operating system you're using here, right? So I'm assuming, I don't think you can do aliases in Windows. Maybe you can. But I think you're talking about Linux or Mac here, or BSD or whatever. So I think it's going to copy a file system alias, and yeah, your Mac OS X. So I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a broken system alias. I don't have a Mac to test that with, so I'm not sure. But that is what I would suspect would happen. So in Windows, I think the closest equivalent to that is called a shortcut. So I can kind of show you what that would look like here. If I go to Real World Project here, and so I can add, it's not quite the same thing, but it's a shortcut. So I could have a shortcut to, I don't know, just another folder like my Baseball Ipsum project. Okay, oops. All right, and name for the shortcut. So there's a shortcut, right? If I click on this, it'll take me to that folder, yes? But this is actually just kind of a location on the, it's kind of like a file, right? So if I go to that, whoops, I lost everything. If I go to that, zproj real world, you can see there's it's an LNK file right there on the disk. And I'm not sure if this is the same way that Mac works or not, but I can actually type the contents of that file. So it's just a bunch of gobbledygook, right? So this is what I suspect Git will check in, a file like this. Git is not going to try to navigate to that shortcut or that alias or that link. That's what I suspect is going to happen. But I think it's worth experimenting and worth trying. I think the risk there, even if Git was able to do that, the risk there is that could be a very recursive situation, right? Where if you have a link to a folder and that folder links back to the folder with a link in it, or alias, I guess, then that could be a serious problem. But thank you very much for joining, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you decided to drop in and ask me a question. This is very much a beginner-friendly channel. Not that you're a beginner Narnia expert, but what I mean by beginner-friendly is any question is allowed when it comes to coding or development. And clearly, you are a little more advanced than beginner if you're already using Git and trying to figure out stuff as complex as aliases, but all questions are welcome, is what I'm saying, whether they're related to the Conduit project here or just some other development tool. So Narnia expert, does that mean you are a fan of the, what is that, the C.S. Lewis series of books on the Tales of Narnia? The most famous of which is, of course, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And you're an expert on them. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is auth service is going to, so what I did here was configure JWT secrets. So in auth service, Salty Fire Buff, hey, what's good? What's good is you're good, Salty Fire Buff. Thanks for dropping in. You're a contributor to NarniaFans.com. Well, Let's just take a look at NarniaFans.com. Narnia on Netflix. Movie and series. Is there a new Narnia stuff coming to Netflix? Is that what's going on? I did not realize that. Well, look at this. All Narnia news. Forums, artwork. Look at all this crazy stuff. This is great. This is like the old web, where someone would create a website about the thing that they're a fan of and just that would be what they did. This is great. Because, this kind of stuff is normally like, oh, it's a Facebook group or a hashtag or whatever. But this is great. Or, like a Wikia. I love this kind of stuff. One of my very first websites when I was a teen was a website for my favorite band. And I would just put up whatever scraps of digital material I could find for that band. So there wasn't, it was slim pickings back in the mid-'90s to get that kind of stuff, right? But anything I get my hands on, I put on there. Greta Gerwig, the Barbie director, will be directing 2 new Narnia movies for Netflix. Okay, all right. Greta Gerwig. MySpace? Yeah, MySpace. MySpace was kind of about that too. Someone could change their page to really obsess on Narnia or their favorite band or whatever. But that's a little different because that's like, here's my personal page. It's about me and things I'm a fan of. But yeah, bands could create their own MySpace. Movies would have their own MySpace, things like that. I haven't seen the Narnia movies in a while. We watched the current ones. We watched them all with the kids, I think. And then of course I remember watching the old TV movie. I think it was a movie, it might have been a series on from PBS way back when I was in school. We watched that. And I think I've read just The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I haven't read any other books. Okay. All right, so where was I? Yes, so the way this needs to work is now I have to introduce a constructor. And this is the part that's going to be painful, a little bit painful. Because I have to put in iOptions. Is it iOptions? Yeah. JWT secrets. You started learning HTML because of MySpace and made your first fan website in middle school. Yep, yeah. That's great. That's one cool thing about MySpace that you really can't. I mean, Facebook has taken over all MySpace's stuff, right, for the most part. But with MySpace, you could always put in HTML and JavaScript and CSS and go crazy with the page, which led to some real eyesore of pages. But, with Facebook, it's very like whatever they allow you to put in. You really can't put in HTML, things like that. So, which means it's generally speaking, better user experience. But it's also cuts off that experimentation that so many people, myself including, got to do with MySpace. But also the downside of that is MySpace is the very first time, and I think last time, that I have been successfully phished. Because in the equivalent of DMs in the MySpace days, you could include HTML into your DM, into your private message. And so the message I got was, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like, click here to reset your password or something. It looks just like a MySpace message. So I clicked it, didn't realize it was a whole different website because it was a button that they had configured. This is a very basic phishing attack, but a button that they set the target on to be a whole different website. So I put in my login information there, and voila, I lose my my password information is compromised. Now, unfortunately, I kind of figured it out over the next half hour or so, because once I put in my login information, it still gave me an error, right? Because it's a fake website. I think it actually redirected me back to some page on MySpace. So I was confused, like, why isn't this working? So I eventually figured it out, like, oh, it's a phish attack. So I was phished successfully for like 30 minutes. But yes, so that's kind of the double-edged sword of allowing HTML. So, all right, so let's see, JWT secrets equals, let's do this, dot value. All right, so then I can go in here and say JWT secrets dot. Did I not put? I did not put any. I didn't actually put anything in here. Okay, let's try this again. String issuer, audience, and security key. Alrighty. So then from here, I can say JWT secrets dot issuer, JWT secrets dot audience, and where was the? Oh, right here. JWT secrets dot security key. And that needs to be there. Okay. So there we go. So that has been refactored, hopefully successfully. So I want to try this. So what I'm going to do is so today, I have been using Docker, but today I'm going to use Capella again, Couchbase Capella. This is the cloud DBaaS managed offering of Couchbase. So let's go to that. So I've got my cluster set up here, and I've got an integration test bucket, but I want to create a new bucket just for the website. And so this is a new dialog here to Capella. They've made some updates to the UI. And generally speaking, I like what they've done. But one thing I'm not a big fan of is I can't just create a bucket. I have to define a scope and a collection. There might be a way to do it, but I think the goal here is that, generally speaking, we want you to be creating scopes and collections, right, to keep your data organized. But for me, what I'm doing is I have a project that's going to create those scopes and collections for me automatically. So I don't really need this. But I can just go in here and delete that. Something I'm going to bring up internally to be like, hey, is there a way to create a bucket without scopes and collections? But anyway, so there's Conduit. It all has default and default in there. And I already tried this, by the way. I tried putting in default here and it doesn't like that. Can't use underscores to start scope collection names, which makes sense, but underscore default is kind of a reserved word, right? That's the default collection. But next I'm going to, and I can't really show this on screen here, but I'm going to run take this off screen too. I'm going to run my migration scripts. I need to update the connection string on this. So all kinds of stuff I need to take off the screen here. I can't show you because it's secrets. Okay, so there's a connection string. Goes in there. Oh, I need to create a, see, I need to do this as well. So settings, database access. I need to create another user. I'll call it Conduit. And it's going to get access to just the Conduit bucket, all scopes, read and write. And I can't show you the password here. I'm going to generate a new password. Forbidden characters. Let's try this again. Okay. I'm not a fan of the forbidden password thing either. But them's the breaks. So there we go. Now I have one for tests and one for just kind of like the website itself. Okay, so there's the migrations, and let's run the migrations and make sure they work. And then I'll have the database structures that I need. Oh, got some more comments here. Your objective behind the GET question is to use a repository to track website changes, okay, but keep large multimedia files in a folder elsewhere. Only referenced by an alias. Since the Mac OS X alias behaves like a Windows shortcut, I suspect your answer is right, but I haven't tried this yet. So one other thing you can do is So you want those files to be committed, or do you want them not to be committed? That's kind of what I'm, because if you don't want them to be committed, another option you can do is a git ignore, right? Just ignore a folder where your large files are, right? But if your objective is just try to keep it in a separate folder for, I don't know, organization purposes, or because you need it in a separate folder for editing them or whatever, yeah, that's a different thing. Git itself might have some sort of link system like that. I don't know. Let's look into it. Git, I don't know, a directory link or something. Alias maybe. Well, here's your question. Videos are too large to have them committed. Okay, yeah, videos too large. Just go put them in a folder and git ignore that folder. There you go. So that's all you need to do there. I assume you're familiar with git ignore. So git ignore is basically just a text file, and I can show you one that I have for this project right here. Yeah, here we go. So git ignore is just, these are the files or folders, patterns that if it matches these, do not commit them, right? So I do not want to commit these files because they have sensitive information in them, right? But you could specify a folder, like right here. I don't know what open cover is, probably for code coverage, but any open cover folder, it's not going to be committed. So you could have one that's like, oh, my large videos folder, videos, and so anything this folder will not be committed to Git. So that's the approach I would take. All right, so I wanted to check the migrate up here. Migrate up. Is it going to work? It looks like it did work. So where's my Capella? If we go to buckets here, conduits, buckets. Oh, now I want to do data tools, conduits. So now I've got users and follows collections in there. So yep, that worked great. So let's go ahead and test out my new authorization thing here. Make sure it works. You haven't used git ignore, something to look into. Absolutely. Git ignore is a very important part of understanding Git. Because for instance, I don't know what you're building, what kind of website you're building, but for instance, if I'm building this ASP.NET project, and so I have to compile that into binaries, right? So those binaries get compiled into this bin folder. Right? So there's a whole bunch of DLL files that are here. These can be large, yes, but they're also binaries, right? And that's what you get when you compile source code. Do not want to commit these into source control. It doesn't really make any sense to. Back in the day, it might have made sense to, like long time ago, but not anymore. So that is why git ignore is important. If you're doing anything like that's compiled or that generates files you don't want to commit, or in your case, large multimedia files you don't want to commit, it's perfect for git ignore. Definitely check that out. Okay, so here we go. Here's the API. Seems to be everything is compiled and run. So let's go ahead and register a new user. We're going to register you, Narnia Expert. Narnia Expert. Your email is aslan@narnia.gov. Let's just do that. And password is stone table 123 exclamation point. Okay, so there is a new account. Is that going to work? Seems to be taking a while. Okay, something blew up. Get user by username. So I suspect this has to do something with, That reminds me, like, isn't adding this, isn't this going to break a bunch of code? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure how that actually compiled and ran in the first place. Must be running an old version or something. So here is all the places where auth service is busted. So I guess the question is, how do I properly mock that? So this is a integration test, so I want to use the real ones, right? So I could just do something like new options wrapper with new JWT secrets. I mean, I could do this, right? Just put in something. For these integration tests, it doesn't matter as long as it's using the same thing every time. So this might be the case for some kind of helper in the tests. Okay, and this is, let's call it, just move it into test helpers for now. So auth service helper. And this is going to return, this is going to be a static method, return I options JWT. No, forget that. We'll just return auth service. Hey, another first-time chatter, Calm Trooper. Oh, this looks to be spam. Okay, so we'll go ahead and ban you for that. I was all excited. Another new chatter, but nope, just some spam. Lame. All right, so we'll just call this one create. And this is going to return new auth service, but it's going to be new options wrapper. And we'll set this to, really this should probably be some sort of singleton. But I could just make them. What doesn't it like here? This needs to be a constructor? Okay, yeah. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay, and I could use my my old values for testing purposes. Nothing wrong with that. Take this off the screen again because it's secrets. But yeah, use kind of these old values. And I'll just make a comment that's to that effect, like these are only the values for testing. Sure audience security key are hard-coded values only meant for testing. Do not use these for your actual secrets. And I should say, it is testing. All right. We'll make this one static as well. So auth service helper dot create. Okay. I think that will work. I really want to test this to be sure, but I can't do that until the whole thing can compile. What doesn't like this request here? I'm not actually using it. Okay. Get rid of that. Just clean it up a little bit. Yeah, so if I try to run this, it's not going to compile because I've got a bunch of other places where I use hard coding auth service like that, which in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that, but what are you going to do? Okay, let's keep going through this and fix them. These are all in the test, so this is totally fine. And really, it should be in the setup as much as possible. I think I've mostly done that. Yep, setup. There's a lot of them. Anywhere where authorization is needed, which is a lot of endpoints. Yep, a lot of them here. So service equals, yep, and then I'll just reuse that. No sense repeating it. If you hear any noises, I think that there's something going on next door, some heavy equipment and things like that. So just FYI, auth service. Oh, whoops! No, auth service helper. Create. Yep, that's also in the setup. That's fine. Create user. Oh. Okay. So I'm using auth service here twice. I may as well just only instantiate it once. Not that it's a lot of overhead, but make it easier. This is a test. That's probably fine for now. Yep. What else we got? We got another one right here. New. What is that? Get token. Okay. I fully qualified it for some reason. There we go. Another one in the test. Let's just get these over here. I can maybe refactor this later. Not a big deal. Okay, so we'll start closing these up. Just want to test one of them. Okay, well, I don't need to test one of them actually, but let's compile now. See what happens. Okay, we'll register a new user. I probably should have made a copy of Narnia experts info. Good gravy. What's with my typing? Narnia experts is going to be aslan at narnia.gov. And password is system table 111. Make a note of this in case I need to paste it again somewhere. Execute. Still taking a long time. Something's wrong for sure. All right. The task was canceled. So it looks like it's in validation. Where are you? Abstract validator. Oh, no. Not abstract validator, but registration request validator. Okay. And it seems like it's a user by username. Let me look at the database real quick. Is something actually in there? Doesn't look like there's anything in there. It's just a bunch of just 0 documents. So what is the problem? Not already exist. Yeah, if it doesn't exist, it should return. Okay, so that's fine. All right, let's just try a debug situation here. Okay, and we'll try this one again. Okay. That seems to be fine. The first time you wrote the password was stone table 123 bang, but the second time you wrote stone table 111 bang. I'm not sure it caused an error for you. No. The password itself doesn't really matter for this test. So something else is going wrong. It didn't even make it to the database in the first place. So something's going wrong here with validation. Just don't know what. Okay, so there's username, and this should return it should not be in there. There should be no user called Narnia Expert because there's nothing in there right now. Nothing in here. See, 0 documents. So this should return, but it seems like it's not returning. Like I've got, like it's not connecting or something. Yeah, it definitely seems like it's a situation where the database is not being connected to. It's going to time out or something. So let's just shut this down. I'm going to take this off the screen here and look at those secrets again just to make sure they are correct. They are not correct. That would be the reason why. Oh, gosh. Okay. Yeah. And I don't remember what the password is now. Oh, boy. Okay. Take this over here. So it's trying to connect to a database that it doesn't have the connection string for. Or at least the credentials for. All right. So I've got to go and change that access key because now I don't know what it is. Where did I paste that though? Where on earth did I paste that? Did I put it in the test for some reason? Oh, shoot. Wrong button. Secrets. Okay, I don't know. All right, well, let's go and change the password again. Can I change it? Can I edit directly and change the password? Looks like no. So I have to recreate this user. Creating access. Give it that password. SVC Conduit. So here I can show you what I'm doing now. I'm recreating this user and giving it access to Conduit, all scopes, read and write. There we go. Okay, so now in the secrets, I have that username and that password. Okay. Oh gosh. Now back to what I was doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the code, it's just I had the wrong connection string in there. We're going to get Narnia Expert in there, or die trying. All right. There you go. Narnia Expert, and yeah, okay, there you go. So you're in the system now, and here is the JWT token, which looks like it's being generated correctly. I can actually use this in Swashbuckle here, and then I'll go ahead and get the current user. It is Narnia Expert. Say, okay. There we go. So that works great. One thing I need to do now is, it's working great locally, but I've introduced new secrets into my system. So I need to add those here. So these are the secrets I currently have. I need to put some new secrets in here. And I can't tell you what these secrets are because they're secret. But for instance, I'm going to put in JWT secrets, and it's underscore underscore. Is that the correct notation here. Let me just go back and look. Yes. I don't think it actually matters, but there's issuer. I'm going to put a string in here, which I can't show you what that's going to be. I'm going to take it off the screen here and make a little note to myself as I construct these. So just right now I'll show you my progress because nothing sensitive yet, but I need values for that and issuer and audience and security key. And previously I think I had ChatGPT just generate a security key for me, so I could do that again, but of course I can't show you that. Again, taking this off screen. Whoops, taking this off screen. And I just need to put in a value here. Okay, and I'm just constructing some values. I'm trying not to say them out loud because they are, they are sensitive. So how long is the security key? That was the existing one is 31 characters long. So I could have LastPass generate me a security key as well. No need to use ChatGPT for that. It's not a particularly difficult task. But let's do a generator, and we're going to make it 31 characters. Copy that over. And put it right here. Okay. All right. So first secret. Next secret. And last secret. Okay. So there we go. Now I've got these secrets, JWT secrets. Oh, I added an S to that. How did that happen? Okay, weird. Now I need to JWT secrets. Why there's only 2 of them anyway? What the heck's going on here? Okay, let's try this again. GitHub password to do that. Yes, remove the secret. Yes, remove the secret. Okay. Let's try it one more time. New secret. JWT secret issuer. It gets a value. Okay. New secret. JWT secret audience. It gets a value. And new secret. JWT secret security key, and it gets a value. Okay, there we go. So now we've got these secrets here. Close some of the stuff off the screen. Visual Studio goes back over here. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so you have a question. In the database with my login profile data, I noticed there was other properties like bio null, image null. How would an image work in this context? Is it a URL string pointing to an image file somewhere on the web? So in this case, yes. Right. What I'm doing is maybe I should describe this project because there's always new people joining. There is what I'm working on is something called Real World, and there is a project in Real World called Conduit, which is a clone of Medium.com. And so I have to follow this spec because there are hundreds of projects that follow this spec, and that's the whole point. Is that lots of sample projects in different languages, different frameworks, different databases that all follow the same spec. So you can compare, contrast, mix and match front ends and back ends. It's a great project. So I'm following that spec, and if we're talking about image, the spec here is that it is a URL to an image. Yes, so that's how it works, and that's probably fine. Generally speaking, you could also put a link to like a like a cloud file host, like was it S3 or Azure Blob or something. You could make a link to that, or a file system, right? Generally speaking, I wouldn't want to store binaries in the database, but you can store binaries in most databases, Couchbase including. If I wanted to do that, what I would do is I would base 64 encode, which base 64 encode. This is just a kind of example of this, but let's say I had a bunch of binary data in here. This is not, doesn't particularly mean anything, but I can encode that, and that is encoded to this string here, and then I would go ahead and put that string in image. So I'd have to decode that every time I want to serve that image up. So you can do that. You can store images in your database. You can store images in Couchbase. I could store them as a separate document even if I wanted to. That probably would make more sense. But generally speaking, I try to avoid that. I remember doing that at one point. I tried that for a website early in my career, and there was there's some drawbacks to it, right? So you can't really see the image in there. You don't know what's in there until you decode it, and indexing those can be a problem. So you don't want to do that, and it's just kind of a hassle, right? So I prefer serving files, put them in a file system or something that's meant to handle files. Databases, there are file databases, but the most popular databases you've heard of in my opinion, aren't great for storing files. So hence the URL. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So good question. All right. So I've got those defined there. So let me just copy these because I'm going to use them in a second. Because I need to go next to the GitHub action. And I need to add those secrets here to the environment. So, like so. And this needs to be not Couchbase, but it needs to be, this is audience, right? So we'll do audience like this. So now what I'm doing is whenever I run the tests for this on GitHub, it's going to pull that value from the secret, and it doesn't really matter what that value is. It's a secret, though. You can't know it. You, the public, can't know it. I can know it. And then it'll set that as an environment variable, JWT secret __ audience, which means it will make its way into the application in the same way that it's doing right now locally. So we'll just do 3 of those. We'll do issuer, and that's issuer, audience, and security key is security key. Okay. So once I commit this, those things should run, and it will now be pulling it from the config. One thing I haven't tried yet is those tests. So I want to try running all the tests. Every single test in my system. Now that I've touched a lot of them, just make sure they still work, they still run. Integration ones are the trickiest ones. See what happens there. Fingers crossed, they still work, and I got the connection strings right. Looks like they are working, so probably good, but we'll keep them running just in case. And then at this point, if all these tests pass, I think we're good. I think we can call this this ticket, this issue, done. As soon as these finish running. Integration tests take a little longer because they actually touch the database. So, oh no. Oh no. A fail. Oh, this is the controller one. Okay. That one, that's the problematic one that I was talking about earlier because of the way I've got connection strings and config locally. So I'm okay with that one because that one will pass when it gets out to GitHub. Because right now I've got each one of these projects, web, tests, migrations, they all have their own secrets. This one, this test that's failing, actually spins up ASP.NET. And so that's where the tricky stuff gets into play with multiple secrets. But yeah, so that was going to be fine. And these are all running, so I think we're going to be good. Just going to let them pass. But here is, that's fine. Where is the, yeah. So I'm just leave a comment here that I'm using secrets instead of app settings. That's all I need to say there. And when I commit this, I'm going to use the number of that issue, which I think is 11. No, 7. So I can go ahead and start staging a commit. Make sure everything looks good there. Number 11, moved auth JWT config values into secrets environment. Okay, so here's what I changed here. Just added that to this container. You know, it probably needs to happen in, I know this one is disabled right now, but the Capella one needs to do the same thing. So, just for the sake of completeness, I'll put that in there. Okay. Capella, yep. Notice Capella is a lot smaller because it's relying on Capella DBAS for all the database setup, whereas this one is using a Docker container, so there's a bunch of extra stuff in here to set that up, but that's fine. Follow user handler tests, so this is just auth service stuff that I touched, placed with the helper. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Looks good. Yep, that looks good. Yep. Yep. Yep, looks good. This is the, yeah, this is another helper class. A helper using a helper. That's okay. That's good there. Profile handler tests. Get token from header tests. Yep. Okay, that one's pretty much a unit test, but whatever. Program. So in this case, I added that parameter, but I also stripped out, oh, I need to remove those comments. That needs to happen. This is something I'm bad at, is not that one. I comment code out because I might want to use it later, but I don't want to commit it. Doesn't make any sense. I will leave that comment there. No sense. Take the old values out. Okay. Okay, that's good. All service also stripped it out there. Also need a comment, remove those comments there. All service. And so, while I'm thinking about it, does token expiration time need to be configured as well? I don't think so. I'll just leave that hard code, that's fine. Get really overboard with the configuration if we need to. App settings.json. Okay, yeah, this is just a sample file, so I need to change that probably. App settings.json. You know, put issuer here. Most likely, I'm going to get rid of this app settings JSON, but just for now, leave it in here. Okay. New files. Yeah, I got these 2 new files there. So there we go. I think we're all ready to commit. And I'll go and push that out to GitHub. And that will trigger the workflow right here, which should pass 100%. So there was that one problematic test in there because I'm trying to do integration tests on the controller itself. So there's some tricky configuration stuff I gotta work on. But out here on GitHub integration, it should work just fine. So it's only an issue for me, the developer, trying to run multiple things locally, tests and the actual website and so on. So we'll let that go. I'm pretty sure that's going to pass. But let's go back to the projects. And I think we'll move this into update docs, although I don't think there's any docs to really update. Let's look at the README, though. It might be worth mentioning. Configure. Oh yeah, okay. So there's the. This is already covered by user secrets to tests and migrations. Oh yeah, it still says app settings. So let's see. Alternatively, use. And I'm just going to collapse these all into one. Yep, okay. So that's good. Updating the documentation a little bit while this action is running. Where's my action anyway? Oh, right over here. Still going. Anything else in that README while I'm here? So this is users. I also created follows. Follow, unfollow. Yep. Models, conduit, extension. Anything else need to be documented here in the web project? So extensions, follows, that's a slice. Models, that's the data access users. Okay, that's good. Conduit tests. Extensions, integration, unit, test helpers. I can put that on there. Various helpers to make test writing faster and more readable. Okay, let's look getting started here. So two options is Capella or server. Configure Couchbase, create that bucket, enable database access, create a user or create database access. Yep, probably should link to those, but that's fine. Run the migrations. It's just NoSQL Migrator. Or manually, you can create those objects yourself. Might want to take that eventually, but my concern is I like this NoSQL Migrator project. This is a project I'm also working on, which is used by nobody but me right now. So my concern is that if someone comes to this project and wants to do this, like they're not going to have to learn NoSQL Migrator 2. It's not much to learn, but I'm just concerned that it's a very raw, very alpha project, and that if it doesn't work for them, it's going to make them give up. So I have some manual alternative steps as well, because there's not much to the database structure, at least not yet. Some collections, an index, probably some more indexes in the future. But that can be done manually in the worst case. So I'm just kind of hedging my bets here. I eventually want this to be a pure NoSQL migrator, but I'm still hedging. Okay, configure the secrets. Yep. Compile and run. Standard compile. Use Postman. You can also use the Swagger UI. Yep, that's good. Video stream. There are some new videos. Maybe let's update these while I'm here. Let's look at my... Okay, action. It passed. So I'm going to bring up my playlist here and update the stream a little more. You know, maybe I should put some of this offline or off the screen because it might be sensitive. Some family videos and such. Playlist, okay. I could have just gone here directly. So here's my current playlist. So I added the .NET Live episode here, but let's see. The last one I had was the 11th, so I've got this one here. 2023. Ooh, I don't want that whole playlist information there. But this one is this is this is all about the follow. Okay. All right. So this is all about the follow, and that one is dated 2023, 07/14. So follow and data structures. Okay, so that's that. And I've got one more, which is finishing the follow unfollow feature. '23, 08, 01. Finishing follow unfollow. Okay. And I may as well add this .NET Live stream. I think it's relevant, right? But the question is, do I put it in this list or, I don't know, maybe I'll just have like a separate link here. So an overview of this project. Let's see. I appeared, well, that's a good way to describe this. Because this is how Narnia Expert found this stream, so that's fantastic. I did notice that you followed yesterday as well, Narnia, so I appreciate that. And also, Sothy Saint Goingwell has also followed, so I also appreciate that. Thank you very much for the follows, everyone. But let's see. Overview of real-world Conduit featured on the On.NET Live show. Oh, I got a sneeze coming up. Okay, and I like to edit Markdown in Visual Studio Code. I have a better preview system there. I think, anyway. Okay, so there's the README, and I get a little preview over there. How's this look? Features on the .NET? Featured. Goals of this project and the real-world Conduit project. Okay. That's good. So it's in the playlist, but I'll keep it kind of separate from this table here. But there we go. Updated some documentation. Always good to stop and do that. Was it number 7? Yeah, number 7. Okay. So that looks good. All right. Commit that one. That's also going to trigger a run of the GitHub workflow, but that's okay. All right. Making progress. Done. Next up, let's create an article. So now it's time for a whole new slice. So here is what we're looking at. Whoops. I'm going to zoom in on. There we go. We're looking at an endpoint, a post endpoint to articles, API articles, An article contains a title, description, body, and tag list. So haven't really thought about tags too much, but we'll probably have to start thinking about that. This does require authentication, so this will be associated with you. This is an article that you, the logged in person, is writing, is posting. Required fields are title, description, and body. Tag list is not required. It's optional. Interesting. So with the tags, something to think about eventually here. There is some tag endpoints. There is one tag endpoint down here. Get tags. But the trick here with the tags is not get article. No, we're not there. You know, how do I want tags to work? So there's an endpoint called get tags that returns all tags. That's the spec of this project. So let's go look at that real quick here. This is good to think about before we dive into articles. So this returns a list of tags. It doesn't say anything else besides list of tags. So is it all tags, popular tags, or what? So I suspect that what I should do, and this is not in the spec, one way or the other, is define a list of tags that are allowed. So you can't just create your own tags. This is the Stack Overflow approach, right? Where there's tons of tags on Stack Overflow, but you can't just create your own tag without going through, kind of approval process for that. So, with that in mind, I would possibly have to create. So the way I want tags to work is there will be one document that lists all the allowed tags, and that's what this is going to return. List all the allowed tags. So when I create an article, it's going to have to look at that to see all the tags that you submitted, are they allowed tags? So it might make sense for me to not do the article first, now that I'm thinking about it, but to do the tags first. So that when it comes time to create an article, I have some code that can tell me, is this an allowed tag or not? Man, this green screen is just getting worse and worse. It's the sun out there. It's just, oh my goodness. Let's see if we can make it more adjustments. That's getting slightly better, I guess. How's it look on a white background, though? What's a good white background web page? Google? No. Well, it's going to have to be good enough for now. All right. So, anyone else here that's not lurking? You want to weigh in on this? So if I have a document, let me just draw this out maybe. So a document called allowed tags. And this is an array of tags. So we could say like Narnia is allowed to be tagged, C.S. Lewis can be tagged, and Aslan. Those are tags that are allowed. Okay? And then there's an endpoint article that's contained like, I don't know, what was the, whatever it was, body, be whatever you want to, Baz, title, Narnia, whatever, and then tags, which is optional, but it's going to contain a list of tags. So, but if, let's say I submit Narnia and Baz as my tags, well, Baz is not in this list. So I can check this list for every one of these tags, which is kind of an annoying bit of overhead, but necessary. Narnia is allowed, Baz is not. So then I can return an error and saying, hey, you can't, Baz is not allowed as a tag. In order to do that, I have to have a tag system already in place, tag data access, tag structure, and so on. So let's, I think let's go and do that. We're going to create tags today instead of article. we're changing it up. So I just need one endpoint. So yeah, this is some notes that I put on for myself earlier. I forgot about. Yeah, tricky endpoint if the tags are Wild West. Might be a good idea to have an approved list of tags. Otherwise, you need to query every article to get all the tags. Yeah, that would be a problem as well. If it's Wild West tags, then there could be a million tags out there, and I have to query every single article to get every tag. No. Have a separate document listing all tags, which gets updated when an article is created. No, I don't want to do that either, because again, that could be a very large list of tags. So I don't want them to be freeform, don't want them to be unbound. So I just want one tag document that contains a list of tags. I could put a lot of tags in a single Couchbase document. So I think that's the way to go. The only issue I can think of is that there is no endpoint. There's no way for me as, let's say, the administrator of this site to add new tags. I'd have to go right to the database and add those directly. So potentially, if this were real world, I want to create an admin backend so I could go in as an administrator and do tasks like that. I also need stuff like moderation as well. Would be important. Managing users. If I wanted to ban a user or give them certain privileges, verify user. None of that stuff is in this API. So we can just kind of assume that that would be something you'd want to implement if you were actually deploying this to production. All right. So tags, I think, belongs under articles as a concept, because articles are the things that are being tagged. Articles belong to tags. They don't really exist on their own. So I'm going to create a slice called articles. And so in there, let's go ahead and create a controllers folder. And I could just call this tag controller. And I'm trying to use ChatGPT and Google Copilot here in the stream, but as I've done in a previous stream, and you can go back and check that out, I actually did go through the process of creating everything from controller down to the data access layer using Copilot and or ChatGPT. And some of that was very, very successful. Some of it was kind of okay, needed some human interaction, and some of it was just useless. So I had to actually go in and manage that myself. So if you're interested in that process, check out some of the older videos in the stream, or you can wait for kind of the shorter edited videos if you want to check those out too. But I imagine this is going to be very simple endpoints. Where was the tags at? It's all the way at the bottom here, but API tags. So it's a route. API tags, like so. This require authentication. No authentication required, so anybody can get all the tags. So public async action results get all the tags. This is really going to be very, very simple. What's the problem here? Oh, task of. Obviously, okay. All right, so tags equals await, and we need a mediator for this guy as well. You just said Google Copilot. You mean GitHub Copilot? Whoops, yes, GitHub Copilot, sorry. My mistake, yeah. There is something from Google called Bard, which I have used on this stream in the early days, and I've not found it very impressive, at least not for coding. So I'm kind of not used it, but GitHub, Copilot, and ChatGPT I found to be the most useful tools for working with code. Yeah, sorry about that. Mediator dot send. It's going to be new get tags request, which we're really not going to have anything in it. What's going on here? Oh, right. Okay. So get tags requests. So here we go in articles. I've got this handlers. I have a get tags request, which needs to inherit from something, which I can never remember for the life of me. I think it's I request. That can't be right. What did I do for follows? Let's see. Request. I request of, yeah, the type is going to return. So it's going to be get tags result. Do you find Bing Chat to be useful for working with code as ChatGPT? I have not used Bing Chat yet. However, Bing Chat is, as far as I know, is version 4, is GPT version 4, right? And I am a subscriber to ChatGPT Plus, which means I'm using GPT-4. So in that sense, yes, I do find it to be very useful. But I've not used Bing Chat very much I've not used it very much. Period. I've not used it for this stream at all. So this is result. Does result have to have anything on it? Go to declaration. Follow user result. Okay, that's just a plain old class. Hey, it's That Onion. What's going on, That Onion? Glad you're here. Thank you again for being a sub. Appreciate it. Just working on the tags for this Conduit content management system, social blogging site. I decided I planned on working on articles, but I decided tags is important foundation for articles. So I'm going and doing that instead. And really, I don't picture anything other than tags being returned here. So this is just going to be a public list of string. Yes, Bing is GPT-4, but it uses web search data with citations to make it possible to validate the answers given in factual. Oh, okay. Perhaps I will try that in a future stream, or maybe today, if the opportunity presents itself. Try some Bing Chat. Because I've been using Copilot, I'm using ChatGPT, but I've not used Bing Chat. So let's give that a try. This is a very, very thin endpoint. I don't even think there's validation needed. There's nothing even needed in this class. It's just kind of a marker class. All I really need now is a get tags handler. Which itself is not going to be doing very much. I never remember the order of this either. It's request result. Handler. What? Request handler. Get tags request. Get tags result. I hope you guys are having a good day. Thank you, That Onion. I am having a pretty good day. Just got back from traveling to a tour of Michigan last week, ending in Beer City Code, which was a great conference. Recommended if you are ever in the Grand Rapids area or nearby. Definitely check out Beer City Code. And I was going to some user groups on my way up, so it was a good time connecting with some people I haven't seen in a while, and getting some good presentations going. I had a great group of people at Beer City Code, asking great questions, and they laughed at my jokes, which I think is the most important thing. All right, so this is going to basically no validation needed. All I need to do is really turn around and no authentication needed, nothing like that. So I just need the tags document. So the way I do this is I have a data service, right? So I'll create a new data service. Tags data service. And I will create that in here. Yes. We'll create a new folder. Forgot how to create a new folder. Okay. Gosh. New folder called services. And I'll create one called tags data service, which will implement tags data service. You might be saying, Matthew, why are you creating all these interfaces? You don't even need them yet. Well, you're right. I don't need them yet, but I know I will need them. So I've needed them for the other two services, so I'll just keep doing that. Tags data service, read-only field. Okay. And so all this is going to do is just say result equals await get all tags. Again, that's all it really is required to do. This needs to be async. There might be, again, if I was creating like an admin backend, then I might want to add other endpoints or other methods to this data service method. But for right now, this is probably all I'm going to need to implement this feature in Conduit. Okay. So what's this going to do? This is going to take in, I'm going to need another model here. So I've got this follows. I'm going to create another one called iConduit tags collection provider. To its own file. Yeah, I don't really need to be their own file. And program is, so yeah, I'll go ahead and do this here. Tags data service. Tags data service. This is not where I need the interface for, but we'll get there eventually. And I need to add a provider for, this is going to be tags collection name. iConduit tags collection provider. Okay. And I need to add that, of course, to these secrets. So right here, this is not the secrets, but this is what I'm going to be adding here. This is tags collection name. Just matching that. So I need to add this as a secret to various places. So let's do that real quick here. Off the screen there. Manage your secrets there. And tests. Yep, okay. So added to the secrets. I just basically added this to all the secrets. Because the next thing you need to do is, well, we can probably finish this real quick. All this is going to do is basically just, actually we'll need another method for here once I get to articles. But anyway, so this is going to look up a single document. So this needs to take in the thing I just created, iConduit tags collection provider. And the collection equals await. This should be async as well. Await tags collection provider, whoops, underscore dot collection, get collection async. So the tags doc, I just have to give it a key. No, not that one. Collection of. I'm just going to call it all tags. I don't know. That seems fine. And return. Oh, need the tags equals tags doc. Content as tags. And which I haven't created yet. I'll create that over here in models. Which is all it is. It's going to be a list of strings. I don't know if I can use that same name as the class. This is kind of redundant anyway, right? So what should we call this instead? Tag data? Yeah. Call this tag data. Then I can also call this tag data. tag data. Okay, and just going to return tags dot tags. Okay, if that doesn't exist, if it doesn't exist, then what do I do? Nice, there's a Couchbase data source plugin for Grafana. There is indeed. What is with that? Okay. Interesting little emote there. Yes, that guy seems very happy about the Couchbase data source plugin for Grafana. Do you work with Grafana that much, that onion? And if so, what do you do with Grafana? I'm not super familiar with it. I know that plugin exists. I have a general idea of what Grafana does, but what do you do with Grafana, and why is that interesting that there is a Couchbase data source plugin for it? Okay. So what do I do if there's no tag document yet? I'm going to assume that there is one because I'll show you why in a second here. So I'm going to create another migration here. Create tag data. And let's call that one 004. Basically creating a whole collection for one document, which seems kind of a waste, but it's you know, it wouldn't make sense to put each tag in its own document, I don't think. We'll call this migrate. Wait, is this migration? Yeah, okay, I got this backwards. Migrate. Okay, up and down. All right, so I need to create a collection. And this is pulling from configurations, which is what I did here. It is the main data visualization component for us. We store IoT data into Postgres in many ways and use Grafana to visualize that data for human consumption. So it's a visualization tool. Interesting. For some reason, I thought of it as something more along the lines of, I don't know, monitoring, I guess. I guess you could use it for monitoring. But you're using it for actual, like, creating reports and graphs and stuff for people to look at and come to conclusions about. This needs to be a constructor. Interesting. Okay, so where'd that config come from? Oh, this is a base class. That's right. So migrate base. Okay. It's good for monitoring. We can set it to create PDF reports, alerts when sensors hit certain thresholds. Okay, got it. But it's like not monitoring of the database itself. That'd be more like Prometheus, but it's monitoring of the data that's in there. Tags collection name. Create collection name. In scope. Scope name. And create or drop collection. Oh, not drop, delete from scope collection name. Okay. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and create a document. No, not create, insert document with a key of, what do I call it? Tag data. Tag data. And it's going to be a new document that is just containing tags as an empty array. That's all it's going to be. Empty array of string. I'll just do list. No sense getting fancy. Okay. Insert document, but it's not, yeah, I'm not telling it where to insert document. Insert into scope collection. Okay, so this is creating a collection, and then it's going to put a document into it. I don't need to delete that document, because just deleting the collection will be good enough to get rid of that document that's in there. Okay. Okie dokie. So let's see if That works. I'm going to migrate up again. See here, I'm running my migrator. There was an error. Authentication. Oh boy. See, this is the issue. Well, that seems to be fine. What is your problem with authentication? Oh, okay. Well, for one, I made a mistake there. I was calling them both follows. Hopefully that doesn't make sense for an authentication error, but let's go ahead and fix that while I'm at it. Secrets. And app settings, app settings will soon become my secrets template. Okay. Well, I fixed that. I'll do a rebuild here and let's try it again. Oh. I got some code that's not working. Okay. So this is not compiled. Get all tags, and really I just need to return new get tags result with tags equals the result. That's it. Not much to this. I don't imagine what else I could do with this get tags handler. There's no reason for validation. There's no reason for any other sort of logic. I mean, really, this is kind of a pointless handler. I could put this directly in the controller itself. But, I mean, that could be confusing to someone coming to this project and be like, why do they use Mediator for everything except for this endpoint? Well, because it was pointless. But you have to explain that exception now. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of consistency for the sake of consistency, but in this case, this project's trying to be educational and trying to be helpful for someone coming to this as new to at least one of these technologies. And so that might be a stumbling block. Is your green screen attached to the back of your chair? Yes, it is. Yes, it's a big round disc that's green, and I thought I got the big one, but it's not big enough. So I'm thinking about maybe hanging this up back there on the shelf somehow. I don't know. Genius? I don't know about genius, but thank you. All right, so let's try this again. Rebuild. Just want to make sure the migration works. Oh, gosh. What did I do wrong here? Oh, like, did I change the... I don't know. Well, let's just try it again. I'll reset this database access. Let me just double check. Get the right things. But it should be... Yeah, definitely not matching. Okay. Okay, because that was... All right. Okay. Yes. Wait, no. Still doesn't make sense. So, did I change that password? So we see Conduit. Yeah, I guess I did change that password. Okay, so it is an authentication error. Makes sense. Let's try it again. Collection name must be specified when creating a collection. Well, what did I mess up? All right, let's look at this again. All right, so collection name is coming from tag collection name. Is that correct? Tag collection name? Or is it tags collection name? Tags collection name. Oh my gosh. Okay. Tags collection name. Okay. Let's try this again. Migrating up. So this is what I'm doing now is I'm migrating my database to use the correct structures, and I'm just making sure that that's working. It looks like it is. So there's the tags, and there's a document in there too, which is what I want. So an empty array of tags. Beautiful. So what I could probably do at this point is, just as an example, I could put some actual tags in there for test data. Yeah, it has land at Narnia. Well, I was so Narnia expert might still be here. That's why I was just doing Narnia fake data. But this might be a place to kind of put some tags. So I'm going to this is where I have to decide what content is my demo site going to be contain. So obviously Couchbase stuff, right? NoSQL, .NET, cruising. I do like cruising, as I've documented before. What else do I like? Yes, I'm still watching. Narnia Expert, still here. So I was using Narnia Expert as my test data. Cruising, I like baseball. I like, let's see. That's probably good enough to start with. Just some tags to get started with. I'll go ahead and put those directly in there so I don't feel like running the down at this point. Let's edit this and put those tags in there. There we go. So those are right now the only tags that are allowed when creating articles. Well, that's what it will be used for anyway. So you can create an article. Tags are optional, but you can use any one of these tags if you want to. Okay. So then if I go ahead and run my site here. Yep. Okay. See, we're back to connection string issue, I think. Maybe I forgot to add a dependency. Okay, off the screen again. I hate dealing with connection strings. I wish I could get this figured out. Yeah, that looks right. So what is the problem? I feel like I forgot a dependency. Tag service is in there. Yep, tags collection provider is in there. Yep, that's all there. So what's the problem? Failed to load API definition. What? Why did it fail to load API definition? What did I do wrong? Connection string should make sense. So what is the problem here? Let's try it. Let's try a Postman. So my Postman collection here. Let's just see what kind of error I get. I'm still in debug mode. See, still debugging. So let's see what happens if I try to register. What's the error going to be? No, it seems to work. So what's the deal? Is there a problem with Swagger? Why would that happen? What's the URL? Yeah, right here. Response status is 500. What is going on here? Okay. Swagger Swagger not cooperating. Something wrong with this controller? Let's comment this out and see what's happening. Okay, so that controller is breaking things for some reason. What is it? Let's compare this to another controller. Follows controller. Does it need to have a... Did I put get on there? Is that what the problem is? Is it going to really just barf because of that? Seriously? Okay, good to know. If I don't put this get attribute on here, which I should have, right? That was a mistake, but Swagger completely barfs on that, or Swashbuckler, or whatever. Okay, cool. All right, let's try it. So we're going to get the tags, try it out. Not much to it. Is it going to work? Yes, it does. There's all my tags I put in the database. Success. All right. Back to the tag controller, though. It needs to be better documented than that. So much like these, we're going to list all allowed tags. Put a remark in here. Remarks, whatever, of the conduit spec. What? Okay, yeah, there we go. But that's not the right link. I want to link to the tag one. Okay, it's just, again, not much to it, but there it is. Conduit spec for get tags endpoint. This is going to return a, I thought it showed an example, list of tags. Okay, so this needs to return it in this format. So really, that is what it needs to return. So looks like I did the right thing anyway. List of tags. I mean, there's not much else to say there. Stuff we're looking at before. Close this. Okay, the other things, it needs to be able to, there's no validation, so there's no 422. There's no unauthorized. But, you know, I guess it's possible that something could go wrong, right? But really, all it should ever do is return a 200. Unless if something's wrong with this, then you know, the system's probably down. Okay, returns all allowed tags. All allowed tags. That's really it. And there's a return, right? Okay. There's tags, list all allowed tags, returns all allowed tags. It's really very, very simple. Could go crazy with the documentation. Okay, that's the correct format right there. I don't think I need to do anything else, really. I think that's good. Some tests, maybe. Again, the tests are going to be very, very simple. I don't even need a unit test, I don't think, because there's no logic in here. Unless I'm forgetting something. Really just a integration test of the handler. Certainly I want to test this endpoint. This will be the best thing to do, but I am still struggling with getting that to work right. So I'm going to do that later. But we'll go ahead and create a articles right over here. Tests. Articles. And This will be a handler. Handlers. Wait, no. This should be integration. Yeah, there we go. Integration. And so then I'll have a, what is this? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Okay, say tag, what is it? Get tags handler. Get tags handler tests. So let's go ahead and use Bing now. Let's give this a try. Write us a unit test. Well, not a unit test, integration test, but let's see how it does, just kind of in general. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go out to Bing. Okay, Bing. So where is the whole thing? Do I just paste it here in the search? Or is there something I have to do differently? Do I have to sign in? Is this it right here? Q. Bing home. No, that's not it. Oh, looks like I did use Bing. I was doing some stuff. I don't want to show you my search history though. Can I do it anonymously? Let's just try it. Write me a FizzBuzz implement. Oh, on the top, click chat. Okay, there we go. Do I have to use Edge for this? Well, that's kind of annoying. So, no, I don't want to use my default browser. There's no chat here. I came to Bing in Edge, and there's no chat. It's gone. What's going on here? What's going on, Bing? Do I have to use non in private? Okay, so there's the chat. Now it's working. So it looks like I have to be logged in to use it. Okay, that's fine. Oh, look at this. More creative, more balanced, more precise. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, I'll try bing.com/chat. Bing.com/. Let's try that in private. Let's see what happens. Bing.com/chat. It just gave me Bing AI as a search result. Interesting. Okay, let's just see what it does. Write me a FizzBuzz implementation in C#. It's all the way down the bottom of the screen there. Let's see what happens. What do you say, Fizz? What do you say, Bing? Searching for. Okay, seems to be good. It's got a little copy icon there. That's nice. Okay, good. All right, now let's see if it can write me a test. Okay, write an integration test. I have a feeling this is not going to be good as Copilot because it doesn't have the context of my full project, but let's give it a try. Test using end unit that tests the handle method of this class. Let's see what happens. Searching for. It does seem a little slower. Here's an example. So it's doing a mock, which I don't want to do. I did say integration test. I was putting in a mock in anyway. But not bad. It's a pretty good unit test, I would say. We can at least try to use this as a starting point. Get tags handler test. It didn't name it what I want to either. Wait, whoa, what? Okay, there we go. I'm not sure what's happening. Yeah, so it did name it correctly. Get tags handler tests. I like that. Don't want the mock. The handler is fine, but we're not going to actually use that. I do want to use the integration test base class. And we're not going to set this up like that. But I do want to, yeah, okay. We'll get to that. But so integration tests, see, this is something that Bing won't know about, that GitHub Copilot might know about, is the idea of this base class here. And I've used it in other tests as I'm building it. So this is going to be similar to ChatGPT, I think, using Bing, is that you have to give it as much context as it needs. Whereas GitHub Copilot, from my experience anyway, seems to be able to go and take that context and look at my code base and figure it out. So I would say if I'm writing general purpose code, Bing Chat is going to be a good place to go. If I'm writing something that I want to follow what's already existing in my code base, I think Copilot is the way to go there. So you can use them both. I think it makes sense too. All right. So this is the kind of stuff I have in the setup that it just didn't know about. So how is it supposed to add those things? I don't need follows and user collections. I do want tags though. Conduit tags collection provider, like so. And handler, it's not that, it's going to be new get tags handler, and that's where, new tags data service, and that's where I put in the collection provider. Okay, don't need the auth service for this. Set up handler dependencies. Yep, that's still good. Don't need anything but tags here, so I'll get rid of that one. And this should be tags. All right. So these tests, they run the migrations already. Doing that right here, the migrations. So I don't need to actually arrange anything. There's going to be tags in there already. I don't know why I need is instance of, but I'll just say assert is, assert that, assert not null, result, sure. And the result tags contains, let's just do this, assert that request.tags contains and cruising. That's one of my tags, right? Again, kind of making some coupling here, but that's okay. This is all just kind of test stuff. If I decide to take cruising out of my sample, then this will break, which that's okay. All right, and let's see if this works. I suspect it will. Oh, at least document specify. What? Invalid migration. At least one document key must be specified. One document key must be specified. I am specifying a document key. What are we talking about here? Let's try this again. Again, this is probably down to connection strings and me managing the configuration, switching back and forth. Oh, we failed again. At least one document key must be specified. There is a document key right here. It's right there. And I know it worked. Because it's over here already in my regular database, my non-integration test database. See, right there. Like I'm arguing with the machine. But integration tests, why is there stuff in there? Oh, there's tags. Yeah, it's in there. So why is this not cooperating? Alright, let me just check these configs again. Secrets, integration test, integration test. That's fine. Let's comment that part out. Okay, let's try running her again. Tags. Where'd it go? Get tags handler test. What on earth is it doing? What are you doing? Oh gosh. Refresh this just to make sure this is all up to date. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in here. This should be gone. This should get cleaned up. One, two, three, four. Did I number these wrong? Okay, so it's already 4 in there. So what are you checking? Why are you even running this? Help me out, Bing. What do I do? Help me, oh Bing One Kenobi. Try rebuild. My something's getting hung up. Try it again. Why are you giving me this error? You shouldn't even be running this migration. And there definitely is something there. What the heck is going on? Set a bunch of breakpoints and see what's happening. Okay. Tags. Default, yes. But it shouldn't be coming here anyway. Doing it again? Well, this might be... Let me see. It would make sense to run it twice. Once to run the downs, once to run the ups. So there's the down. Yeah, this might be the wrong. Yeah, okay. I think I should be saying delete collection. Yeah, I'm using the wrong thing. From scope. So, ooh, okay. Should be, yeah, okay. I think we're fine now. That's my mistake. But yeah, that's a little bit confusing. Need to work on that. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, before I forget, let's go ahead and create a bug or enhancement, I guess. issues. New issue. Delete from versus delete collection from scope. Delete from should probably be less confusing. Should, let's just say this, improve delete from to be less confusing, and better express that it's for deleting documents, not scopes collections. Which is where I got confused by my own project, so I got to go and make improvement for that. But, okay, so now let's run this test, and this should work. Come on, green. Come on, green. Oh, it's taking too long. Hey, there we go. All right. Fantastic. Okay, get rid of all this junk here. All right, so I think we're good there. So now, let's go back to, where was my, yep, okay. So, created this get tags. It's been documented, although I need to go and make some changes. So introduce another slice, so I need to go and make changes to the README. Nothing major, but articles, tags, and articles and tags for articles. Articles, tags for articles. Okay. That's that. Let's go ahead and commit. And this one is 24. 24 added endpoints to get all valid tags. What is this backup test project? This has happened before. It's like I'm just dragging files around by accident and it creates backup copies for me. Okay, this is good. This is good. Let me just double check this one. Yep, that's good. Okay. All right. Changes to test include adding this handlers. Changes to the web, adding articles. Changes to the program. I just added tags data service, and then of course the tags collection provider. So tags data service is what is using the tags collection provider. App settings, and I added all these files for the tags. So I think it's all set to go there. We will commit, and I'll go ahead and push. And once that clears, once that goes green, I will then move that ticket. Oh, did I move it? No, yeah. I'll move this ticket over to done once that clears. Actions, and here it is. It should be yellow and spinning. Come on, go faster, go faster. No, that's fine. So that will run. It's going to run all those integration tests out there on GitHub. All right, and while that's running, I can kind of look at what's up next. I've got about 45 minutes left today. Get tags is done. It's next up will be create article. Get a start on it today. I probably will not finish it. Man, this green screen situation is just terrible. Maybe I should get rid of the green screen. Just put myself in a smaller window in the corner here. I don't know. Is it too distracting? Let me know. And I can just drop the whole green screen thing. Put myself in a tinier window. But where's my tests? Here we go. Still running. So we're going to work on create article today. I'll get a start. I won't finish it because there's a lot to do, a lot of classes to build here. And ChatGPT can help, of course, but I think really it's only going to help with typing at this point. It's helped very much in kind of getting the architecture and patterns and everything set up, and it can help when I'm doing sometimes helping with refactoring. But at this point, this one is a CRUD article or a CRUD endpoint. It's going to be relatively simple. There'll be validation, of course. There'll be handler, request, response, some integration tests for sure, unit tests. Yes, there'll be all those things, absolutely. But it's all going to be pretty straightforward. When I get down to something like list articles and feed articles, we're going to try ChatGPT because we're getting into SQL++ queries at that point. So we're going to see what it can do compared to what I can do, and also when it comes to indexes, what can it do, and then what can I do, and what can Couchbase itself do. It has some index advisory tools as well. But really, these first 4 here are just kind of CRUD operations: get, update, delete, favorite. And then list and feed is where it's going to get really interesting when it comes to SQL++ queries. And then comments will get interesting as well. We'll have to think about how to model that. I have a rough idea of how, but probably getting ahead of myself now. Oh no, we got to fail. What is the problem? Probably an issue is I should have run all the tests locally because I could have broken something. Invalid migration. Collection name was specified in creating a collection. Oh. Yep. I know what it is. I know what this is. Back at the secrets. I neglected to add a secret. Right, so I got user's collection name, I got follows collection name. I don't have, it's not really a secret, but I don't have tags collection name, which is tags. That's a secret you can see. It's an open secret. But I also need to change this one. Tags collection name. And while I'm at it, I'll change the Capella one too. So there we go. This is, what was the number again? It was number 24. For adding tags collection name to environment secrets. All right. The configuration here, I'm actually specifying collection name, tags name, follows collection name. That might seem overkill, and scope name as well, but especially scope name is important because I may want to make this a multi-tenant application. I want to have multiple instances of this running. Maybe I have one site for cruising and one site for Couchbase. All right, so if I have a different scope, I could have a scope for cruising, cruising.com, and then a scope for Couchbase.com, right, for instance. The collection names themselves, that might be a bit overkill. That's something I've been thinking about. I don't know if I've talked about this before on the stream, but is that overkill? Do I really need to configure those names? Or is it okay to kind of hard code them? Might revisit that in the future. I think this kind of isn't very sustainable for, say, something that has 100 collections in it, to have 100 secrets with the names in it. So the scope name I think is important. These other ones I might consider just whacking those and hard coding them wherever that needs to happen. But anyway, we'll come back to that. So I've got another action going now, probably. This one should pass because I've got the correct secrets in there. So let's go ahead and start on the next one, see how much I can get done. today. Create article. And this is really the meat of the site is articles and comments on the articles. Screen. So this is, I'm just going to try some Copilot here and create a new controller with one action using the following spec. Let's see what it comes up with. See if it knows enough about my code base to create a pretty good implementation. So looks like no, it's not. Let's try this again. Let's open up a file here. Okay. I want to, how do I clear Copilot? There we go. Creates a new controller called articles controller with a single endpoint action that follows this spec and follows a similar construction to the other controllers in this project. Let's see what it can do. Alrighty. Okay, this looks pretty close. I'm not sure what's going on here, but this looks pretty close. So let's copy this. I'm going to create a new controllers. Article controller? I know I called it articles. Yeah, it should be articles controller. Okay. I don't generally use that, but I will put it here. PI / what was it, article? Articles. Okay. And create article request. It's not what I want there. I want a what have I been calling these? Article. Have I been calling article request? Users. I call them view models, right? Yeah, submit models. Create article submit model. Okay. But for the most part, this is good, right? We have mediator, which makes sense, is what I want. This part right here, I'm not really sure what it's getting. It looks like it's pulling the ID from the user context, but what I really need to do is, okay, so I need a new request equals new. This is a create article request, which I don't have yet, right? How am I doing this with, this is what I'm hoping ChatGPT would do for me, is look at those other classes and say, yeah, you need to do it this way. Controller. I'll look at the registration form. So it's got a request that takes in the, okay, so that's what I'm doing there. That makes sense. Article submission, that's fine. And it's supposed to return the article, is that right? Request body will return an article, yes. So it's returning an article. I don't know why it's lowercase article. Actually, that's weird. Request.article. No, just request. And OK article, so there is nothing yet. So that needs to be, I need to create all these classes basically. So create this one here, create article submit model. Need to, yep, that's fine. I need to create article request. That's going to be in the, wait, no, this goes not in users. Gosh. view models. Put that one over here. Yes. Okay. Where was I? Forget this user stuff. I'm confusing myself. Okay. Wait, what? Oh, it's like, okay. So GitHub gave me the namespace as well. All right. Get all this stuff out of here. Put it up there. All right, create article request. That needs to go into handlers. And that needs to be an I request that returns create article response. And yep, that's good. Yep, that goes away. This can be its own class or its own file. Okay, so we're good there. Yep. Article submission. Don't have that. So I'll need to do that. And then I'll need to create a handler. Create article handler. Article handler. Article's a weird word, isn't it? Okay. handler. Request handler. Request, this will be the create article request. Create article response. Yes. Okay, great. Then I need, of course, a data access, right? Oh, one other thing I forgot. Yeah, this needs to be authenticated. Authorized, I should say. So it needs to also get the author, right? Because that's not part of this request body, but does need authorization. So current user equals, so I need auth service. Auth service. Yep. Okay. That's auth service dots. Isn't there a get current user or get username claim? And for articles, how does, let me look at this. How does it store the, by the way, did my action finish? Yes, and passed. Okay, great. How is it supposed to, article, let's see. Okay. Author. It's got this whole thing right here. So I probably want to give it the username. Interesting that's, okay, yeah. We're creating an article. Needs to return this. Okay, so I think this username. All service dots, get username claim, and then I need the bearer token, which, where do I get the bearer token from? I've done this somewhere else. Get current user. Oh, it's controllers. User controller. How do I get that? Like this. Get headers authorization. Okay. And I can just get the token, so then the user, current user, what you call the author, whatever, equals JWT, no, auth service dot get username claim from bearer token. This could probably be wrapped up in some sort of helper too, right? Something like that. Okay. And we'll call this, let's call it author. That's going to be part of that request as well. No, that's not right. Oh, okay. Yeah, dot value. There we go. Okay. So at this point, it's getting the authorization token. So we know the user is authorized. Getting their token, or getting their header, then getting the token from the header, and then getting a username from that token, which just seems like a couple of steps that could be combined, but whatever. And then I have the article submission, so I pass that to this request along with the username. And so that's enough to create an article, right? So this is what an article looks like. So this is going to be, oh, the favorites as well. Have to figure that out. How are we going to store favorites? Because clearly this is like a count of how many times it's favorited. This is whether I favorited it. And so we need to store, I need to store my favoriting of an article somewhere, because I might want to unfavorite it, right? So it can't just be incrementing it by 1 and decrementing it by 1. That's not going to work. So it has to store that favoriting somewhere. You think favoriting is kind of like upvoting on Reddit, right? So this could very much be a Reddit type site that we're building here. Or more likely favoriting is like a bookmark or a Twitter heart, that sort of thing. Okay, tag list. So this is stuff that's all stored in the article. Interesting, the slug here. Does it generate the slug? That's an interesting challenge. Okay. The timestamps, something that the system will handle. And this author will be grabbed from the author's user data. So it's got to join that together. All right, so I think I have all the information I need to actually save the article. And let's go into the handler, well, the submission model. So what's in the endpoint? Required fields are title, description, body, and tag list is optional. Oh, it's Karax. Hey, how are you? What am I doing right now? I'm working on a project called Conduit, and it is a kind of a demo project, basically. But it's all built to the same spec. And you can check that out. If you go to this GitHub repo, you learn all about it. Here it is right here. And I'll give you like a little README of what it is. And I'm kind of in the process of it right now. This is my tracking board, so I can see my progress. But yeah, you can get a bunch of links there and see what it is. It's a C#, ASP.NET, Couchbase, NoSQL database as a backend. And right now I'm working on an endpoint for users to create an article. Okay, so required fields are public string title and description. What's description? What is description? Ever wonder how? Title, description, and body. What in the world is a description for? Let's look at that. Is that like a subheadline sort of thing? I don't know what that is. Well, where are the descriptions used? Okay, anyway, it's required. So title, description, and body, and tags, which is a list of strings. They're also optional. All right, so there's that. And now the actual request. So we just need to save these things. Article submission and author username. Those will need to be public, however. Public article submission. Does not need to be public get. Public string author username. Yeah, article submission equals that, author username equals that. Okay, just wrap those up in a nice little request object. Easy peasy. Okay, and now we're talking to the handler, so we need to put some start with validation. I think this is important here. So, users, handler, just want to kind of look at the way I've done validation. Not there, apparently. Get profile handler. Yes. So we'll take this little validation snippet, put it right in there. All right, so I need a validator here. Validator of create article request. Alrighty. And this will be create article response with the errors. This needs to be async. Create article response. So let's go ahead and create that property on there. Yep, validation errors. Fine. Okay, and then nothing else is happening yet. Okay. So I need a validator on the handlers. Create article request validator. Validator of creates article request. Wait, that's not right, is it? Is it the wrong? Is it a base class instead? Let's see. Abstract validator. Yeah, much better. Okay. I just need to do the constructor. Right? Yes. Okay. Alrighty. So then the things that are required are title. So rule 4 x dot article submission dot title is that it is not empty. With message, title is required. Next one, rule 4 article submission dot description, also not empty. Same thing applies. Description is required. The other thing I need to do here is, what's a must be, well, is there like a length? Maximum length. What's a good length for a title? A maximum length for a title. Like if you're writing a blog post or a Medium post or whatever, what's a good maximum length for a title? Let's ask ChatGPT, shall we? Let's clear out some of this old stuff. Usually around 60 characters. Hey, it's Danielko. What's going on? What is a good, what's a reasonable maximum length for a blog post title? I mean, that 60 characters may be the guideline for SEO and stuff, but what should the maximum be in the system? Well, ChatGPT agrees with you very much, Danielko. Between 50 and 70. So there you go. So I'm thinking I'm going to make it a little bigger than that. I'm going to make it 100. So, hey, Danielko, I'm glad you're here. I got a question for you. So this, the spec that I'm implementing here, create article. The spec says, we're creating a blog post, basically. You need to display a title, description, body, and tag list. All right, that's the spec. I know what a title is. I know what a body is. I know what tags are. What's a description? What is that for? And it's required here, so I have to do it, but how many characters should that be at a maximum? Is that just like a meta description, you think, for SEO purposes? Maximum length. And so, if so, what's the maximum length of meta description? Okay, you think it's that as well. So, what's the maximum length of a meta description? This is more of a Google question, but let's see if ChatGPT gives an answer. Usually around 200. Search engines like Google typically truncate to 160 characters. So, yeah, 200. Seems reasonable. Alrighty. Rule 4. X.article submission body. So, not empty. With message. Body is required. What's a good maximum length for a body? Not empty. Really shouldn't have a maximum length, but there is a max. There is a size limit to a Couchbase document. It is 20 meg. So I don't know. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's see. Let's say I want to store an article in JSON format with a title, description, body, and list of tags. Assuming a title is 70 characters, a description is 200 characters, a list of tags includes up to 5 tags on average with an average length of 15 characters each. If I want to keep my JSON to 20 meg or less, how big, what's the biggest, what should I restrict? Okay, what should, how much space is left for the body? So this is going to do all kinds of math for me, because tags can vary, right? So let's see. Yep, all the punctuation. Yep. Let's assume an overhead of 100 characters. 400 characters, since 1 byte is 445 bytes. So we're looking at 20 million bytes for the body. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. So let's go with 15 million. Maximum length 15 million. I think that's good enough. If there's an article more than 15 million characters, I don't want to read it. Okay, and then rule for tags. So this is where we get a little trickier. Submission.tags must async be allowed tags with message. At least one of those tags isn't allowed. So we'll create a method. Is that good? Yeah. Tags. Okay. So if there aren't any tags, so if tags equals null, or tags, if there aren't any tags, just return. Because tags are optional. So what doesn't it like here? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Return true. Yeah, I don't care. Okay. So now I need to look at the actual tags. So for this, I need the tags. Whoop, wrong place. I tag data service. Yep. Okay. tag data service dot. So there's a get all tags. I could use that. The question is that going to be the most efficient way to deal with this? I suspect not, but we're going to go for it for now. All tags equals, and there shouldn't be very many tags in this list. So there's some data structures we can use in Couchbase, but until my list of tags gets much, much bigger, I'm not worried about it. So we'll just return all tags dot contains. Whoop, this needs to be in await. All tags dot contains. Okay, so multiple tags, so they all need to be in there. So what's the link expression to do this? Let's see. Is there one that can handle this? Like an intersection or something? Intersection produces a set intersection of two sequences by using the default equality compare to compare. Union? No, I don't want a union on. So I've got these are all the tags that are allowed to be used. And these are all the tags that are being submitted by a user. So I want to make sure each one of these tags is in this list. So I could write this longhand, right? I could just say for each tag in tags, if all tags does not contain tag, then return false. Otherwise return true. What is the problem with these? Oh, this needs to be async. Okay. So that's the long way to write it. But is there a better way? Yeah, here, link expression. There we go. All tags contain tag. Thank you, ReSharper, for doing that for me. So let's just read this out, make sure this is easy to follow. So I'm going to rename this to submitted tags. No, don't do that. And this is going to be all allowed tags. So is it the case that all the submitted tags are contained in all allowed tags? So it's kind of to go back and forth a little bit, but that works. That works. I may want to change this in the future, change this implementation in the future, but this will work. Okay, so that's that. That's all the validation I need, I think, because I don't care what the title is as long as it's got a less than 100 characters. I don't care what the description is, less than 200 characters. Don't care what the body is, less than 15 million characters. You know, if we were concerned about security, we might want to do our best to encode these and strip this out, or at least check to see if there's anything invalid in there, because we're talking about invalid, or we're talking about validation right now. So I could put, like, you know, must not have any, you know, bad security stuff for XSS. I could do that kind of check. Although I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think ASP.NET, at least it used to, checks that stuff automatically. So because that would be submitted as part of this, it would check that automatically. Here's a question from a Narnia expert. In your rule 4, I keep noticing the syntax arrow, which I'm not familiar with. It looks like a dyslexic greater than or equal symbol, but probably means something else. Could you please give a simple example of this? Yes, so this is equal greater than. It's 2 characters. I call this a lambda. Some people call this the arrow operator. All this means is this basically, it's shorthand for a function. That's how I think about it. So right here you see, right here is a function, okay? That's a constructor. Let's do another one. Public foo string. Oh gosh, I'm messing this up. Int x, okay? That's a function, right? So this can return x.toString. This is a function. Hopefully you're familiar with functions, right? So you call a function, you pass in a value, it does some work, it returns a value of a different type, or of the same type, whatever. Returns a value of whatever type you specify here, okay? But if I wanted to, I could create shorthand for this, right? So all I really need to know, I don't need to know the name of a function. I need to know the input of the function, the parameter. I need to know that it is a function, right? So it's shorthand for that. And I need to know what the function's doing. So I don't need all this public stuff, this name. I need to specify this type. I don't need these. So it's just kind of shorthand. And so this is called a lambda, or anonymous function, because it doesn't have a name. Right? So this is just shorthand for a function. And actually, this is actually an expression of a function, which is a whole different area. But just think of it like shorthand for a function. So that's what I did here, actually, is I'm passing in a function in this case. So I wanted to write my own custom code. So instead of putting in a lambda, anonymous function here, I put in my own named function, where this will now call this function and run all this logic in here. This is just the way Fluent Validator works. That's what this was here, Fluent Validation. So it has all these rules in here, this rule syntax that makes it easier to write these validations using Fluent syntax. So I hope that helps. But yeah, if you want to look up more, you want to look up lambda, anonymous, function, arrow operator. Technically, I think the name for it is lambda. But these things, it's also called these things. You might also want to look up in .NET specifically action and func, because those are two types of anonymous functions that you can create. So I hope that's helpful. But if it's not, please go ahead and keep asking, and I'll if something goes quite clear, I'll try to clarify something about that. But yeah, it's a very common thing to see that in .NET and C#. But you also see that in other languages like TypeScript and JavaScript. What does JavaScript have? Arrow function? JavaScript has anonymous methods for sure, but I think TypeScript has the actual arrows syntax in there. So in JavaScript, an anonymous function, JavaScript anonymous function. I don't think JavaScript has lambda syntax. I think TypeScript does, but I could be wrong because JavaScript's changed a lot. But notice here, you can declare a function in JavaScript with no name, just the word function. Okay, yeah, looks like there is arrows available in JavaScript now. Yes. Is this shorthand considered good form? Yeah, yes, it is. In the right context, right? Certainly, you can't write a whole program using anonymous. Well, maybe in JavaScript you can. Who knows? In C# you can't write a whole program, or you shouldn't write a whole program with anonymous functions. But places where it makes sense, this is a little bit easier to read than, all this stuff for each one of those. So this is basically me letting Fluent Validator do a lot of the work. And so all it needs is, hey, I just need an expression that tells me what you want to validate. And so another option for this, if it wasn't Fluent, I could say, oh, I want you to validate the title. Okay, so I could put strings in there instead, but now it's subject to typos. If I change that title to something else, like blog title, then this will break. But if I do it like this, if I'm actually passing in types and actual names in the code, that the compiler will do the checking for me. So there's a lot of value in doing it this way. But yeah, so is it considered good form? Yes, in most situations. In fact, the whole idea of a link in .NET is kind of built on extension methods and expressions like this. So absolutely. It's almost considered like a best practice. Well, so yes, there is a book coming out that I'm working on with somebody who is maybe named Danielko, called Best Practices. Personally, I don't like the term best practices because it implies that if you do it any other way, it's not the best. I don't necessarily like that term, but that is a term that is very popular out there. It's a best practice. I prefer things like guidelines or rule of thumb or recommendations. I don't like to say this is the best way, but if you're writing a book, it's okay to call it best practices because you're just making an assertion, you're making a stand, saying this is the best way, and I'm writing it. So you're with me, then why are you calling your book best practices? No, it's fine. It's fine. It makes sense. Yes, so I just, it's just like when someone asks me, like, hey, some XYZ with Couchbase, what's the best practice for this? Well, that's where I'm like, let's take a step back and talk about what you're trying to do, and then we'll talk about my recommendations. So if this is just taking an object in and returning a specific property, why don't you just use the object's getter function? Okay. So this is right here. This is a rule for whatever value is in this field. All right. So this is telling Fluent Migrator, basically it's telling it what getter to use. That's what we're doing here. So I'm specifying the getter. And so Fluent Validator will be doing the getting behind the scenes. So this basically is a getter function that I'm passing in. So if we go to title, I'm passing in the getter function. So I don't know if you're familiar with C#, but this get and set syntax here. This is just shorthand for, if you're saying getter function, maybe you're familiar with Java or PHP. This is shorthand for create a get function, create a set function, create a private variable. This is all just shorthand for that in C#, which is one of the amazingly great things about C# is that we don't have to write getter functions and setter functions explicitly anymore. So this is what it's doing. This is passing the getter function and saying, I want you, Fluent Validator, to look at this, the value of this field here. Yeah. And of course, the power here is I can keep adding multiple rules on this. So I can add another rule like, must be, let's see, I could put a minimum length on here as well. I could have a title, a minimum length of 10. And that might be a good idea, actually. Because who wants blog titles with one character in the name? I should put a message here, probably. But yeah, this is the other things that Fluent Validator gives me is the ability to specify a bunch of rules. I can put messages on there. So if this rule is triggered, then use this message. Title must be 100 characters or less. And yeah, I think a minimum makes sense. While I'm thinking about it, title must be at least 10 characters. And same thing for description. With message description must be 200 characters or less. Minimum length of 10 with message description must be 10 characters or more. Should I put periods on here? Why not? These are all sentences. These are all great questions, Narnia. Keep them coming. With message, the body must be 15 million characters or less. And it probably should have a minimum too. Let's just do 10. With message, body must be 10 characters or more. We are almost at time. Oh my gosh, I got carried away. I just love writing validation rules, I guess. So I hope that helps, Narnia. If not, again, come back next time. I'll be streaming, probably not this Friday, but I'll be streaming. Let me just check my calendar real quick. Don't have my Outlook open, so I have to bring it up on my phone. Calendar. I'll be streaming next Tuesday. Maybe. Because jury duty for me starts next Monday. So I'm on call for jury duty. So I might get called in. the day before, and then I'll be on a jury for who knows how long. So just keep that in mind. As long as I'm not on jury duty, I will be here streaming next Tuesday and next Friday. So I'm not going to commit because I'm not really at a place where I want to commit this code, but I do want to go ahead and find someone to raid. Who is streaming right now? C# Fritz is on. Let's see. We've got Freeman42X. Looks like building some sort of not safe for work, so we're not going to go there. Finite Singularity, Pirate Software. What's Pirate Software doing? Game dev? Okay. Thank you for that, Pirate Software. All right, let's just go to C# Fritz. We may as well. Streaming next Tuesday would be 9 a.m. Eastern United States time. Again, assuming everything goes right. I hope to see you all there again next week. But for now, let's go C# Fritz's channel. Let's give him a nice little raid. Let's say hello to C# Fritz. And I hope you all have a great week. Later.